Hello everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Right. Great. Let's begin. Let me know once you guys can see my screen. Okay.
It's visible now.
It's visible, everyone?
Yes.
Fine. So before we begin for today, anyone has any questions from yesterday? What all we discussed, types of flow, what are flows, right? Did anyone of you get a chance to go through, explore अपने environment में आपने जाके देखा क्या क्या definitions है, क्या क्या options है वहाँ पे? किसी को कुछ doubt, कुछ query? No? Great.
No, sir.
Think that is good. Then we can begin for today. So now yesterday what we had explored here was just a few of just the options what are available to us, right? What all we can do, what all things we have. But today's purpose is basically we will create a actual valid flow that should work as per our requirement, whatever option we want, right? Based on that, it should be able to modify things here. हम स्क्रीन के अंदर डेटा मॉडिफाई कर सके, हमको जो रिकॉर्ड बनाना है, जो भी डेटा बनाना है, we should be able to do that, right? Now, in this case, the option which I wanted to do was create a contact flow, right? Now, with the contact flow, what I want is that when this flow opens from the UI screen, a user can see an open, UI screen जहाँ पे वो पहले select कर सके कि okay, this is the account I want to create. इसके लिए फिर जाके I want to create a contacts inside it, and the contact should be related to that account. जो भी हम user input दे उसके according contact बन जाए. That is the kind of automation we want to do here. Now, as I mentioned, the first thing which we would want is a screen. Right. Now in this screen, let's do just a very simple label. This would be my account selection screen. Right. This is an account selection screen. ये just मैंने screen का जो properties है मैंने add किया है. Header में I have nothing. I want to show the header. Okay, let's not show the header. That is also fine. In the footer, I want, so this will be my first screen, right? So which is why I want the next or finish button to be available. कि ठीक है, इसके click करने पे next में जाने का option होना चाहिए. I don't want the previous button here because, as I mentioned, this is my first, and I also don't want to pause. So till now, within this UI, all I have is just one button, which as of now it is showing as finish, but this will become next as soon as I add another screen next to this. Okay. Now, first thing जो हमको चाहिए is कि I want to let the user select an account. Okay, I want to let the user select an account. Now, for this, if you see, what Salesforce has done is there are a lot of out-of-the-box inputs जो आप screen पे डाल सकते हो, which are available here. Right, out of this, most of these are inputs जहाँ पे कुछ आप entry कर सकते हो, but this display text यहाँ पे आप read only text display कर सकते हो, right? Section, repeater, right? All these are just I thought someone should. Fine. So read only items भी हैं हमारे पास, UI inputs भी हैं. So in our case, what we want is we want to provide them an option जहाँ पे वो account search करके select कर सकते, right? So for that option, what we'll do is, if you see out of this, we have a lookup, right? Let's drag that lookup here and let's name it account lookup. Now for any element you add on the screen, right, whether it just be the screen or any individual element inside the screen, you have to add an API name. Okay. हर एलिमेंट के लिए आपको एक API name डालना पड़ेगा. Now for this field, what I want is, I want this to be a lookup, right? So right, ready. Why did this get added? Right, now this is the lookup I have added. Now what I have to add is based on what field I want this to search. Okay, where I want to put the API name of this value. So I'll put it as okay, let's keep this open for now. Let me first add the object configuration, right? What are the objects I want here? Why is this getting stuck? Account object I want, right? Now, if you see here, I have some other details which I also have to populate. So the first thing is, if you see here, the object API name, right? So in this, what is the source object for which I have to search for this, right? Actually, let's do one thing. I think I can use pick list also to, can I use pick list also to use this? I don't think pick list will be the better option. Lookup should be the better option. However, do we want them to select one account or multiple account? And do we want them to search using the name? So what should we be doing? In this case, I think it would be better if we search using the name. Right. So what I can do is I can just 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, hello everyone. Sorry, back. I had a parcel which was being delivered. So yeah, just collected that. Right. Sorry, where were we? Uh, sorry, what were we discussing? We were discussing the pick list. Oh no, yeah, fine. Account lookup, guys. My screen is visible, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, fine, fine. Yeah. So for this, what we want is this is a lookup we are creating for an object, right? So for that, the object will be searching his account. So in this case, we will always have to use the API name. This is the API name which we are putting here. However, if you think of it, this you are searching, right? But this is a lookup, which means it has to be linked in some way to a lookup field, right? Only then it will let you work out of the box. So how does it work out of the box? What is the lookup field we will be trying to link this to? So our purpose is to create a contact, right? What we have to do is create a contact record. So that means the lookup field we will be using here to leverage this is what? The account ID field on the contact. So now this field is on which object then? Contact. So this lookup will populate based on the contact account ID field, whatever is the lookup, that lookup it will look for. That means for contact, the account ID is a lookup to account. So this lookup component will now work for account, right? Is this clear? How did we add the relation here?
Sir, in this, the object API name would be the API name of the object that has that lookup field to account, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So this, see, this standard lookup is similar to if you go here, right? Go to contact and edit it, right? So this, how does it work? It lets you search an object based on what is tagged to this field, right? So for a lookup search, it has to be linked to a lookup relationship field. So that is what we have to mention here. Now this label is just select account. That is what we'll have. So it becomes like this, right? So select the account and this works for, if you see here, because for contact, this account ID field is applicable for which object? Account object. This automatically became search accounts. Okay. Is this part clear?
Yes.
Right. So now we have added a lookup field here where we are asking them, okay, you select a data based on what we want to be displayed. However, for contact, is just the account the mandatory field or do we need some other inputs also?
So we have to see what are the
Anyone?
mandatory fields in the contact.
Right. So for contact, by default, last name is a mandatory field. Okay. So as a standard practice, it is always better when you are creating an account to always have first name, last name, email ID, phone number, and the account ID. Okay. Always make sure that at least these values are there. But by default, last name is mandatory always. Without last name, you cannot create. First name is non-mandatory. I think email is also mandatory. Not sure. Phone is non-mandatory, but it is because the contact is a primary object which always has a relation. So always treat account also. Please add. Right. Else if it fails or anything. Now, here if you see, this is the basic configuration we did just of this lookup. Now for a lot of these things here, even for a whole section, you have another tab here, which is called the set component visibility. What this means, either I can have this always. So within this screen, if I add 5 things here, that does not mean at all times those 5 things will be visible. What if I want a display text here, right? I want a date and time here. And let's say I have added a name here, right? But I want this only visible in some specific conditions. This set component visibility lets you do just that. By default, it will be always. Then you can also write conditions as per your need. All conditions are met. You can just add a condition based on whatever values you have, right? Or operator means either one of the conditions is met, or you can write your own custom logic based on whatever you want. Now, before we move on to the next part, let's do one thing. This part I have done, this screen I have saved, right? But not just these elements. Within a flow, you can also create a different type of resource from this tab, right? What are those resources? If you see, everything we create gets added here as a resource. So this is the yesterday we had created the choice, right, for the radio button that is available here. Right now we have created a screen, we have created a screen component, both are added here, right? What are the other types of resources I can create? Stage, pick list, record choice set. Choice set means all of these are like you want some kind of options. Now within options, it can be list of just data. It can be list of records. It can be, a pick list value. जो हम जैसे for object we have that same thing we can have, right? And just stage is the path that we had seen yesterday for orchestration. Other than that, very basic choice, text, formula, constant, variable. For variable inside this also, what you can do is I'll create a few variables. Now first name, what should be the data type of a variable where I am storing the first name?
Text.
Text. Okay. Right. Done. Let's create another variable. Again, we'll create a var last name. This will also be text. Now, here if you see, text variables I have created. The basic primitive types के जो हमारे पास data है उन सब के हम variable बना सकते हैं. But there are also some types जो हमको direct यहाँ से नहीं मिल सकता. Right. For that, if you see, we have something called apex defined, which means अगर आपने कोई एक apex class बनाई है, आप उसका variable बनाना चाहते हो flow में, that also you can do. These are all apex classes in my org. Okay, so from either of these org, I can look for this. Record type का मैं बना सकता हूँ direct variable. अब मुझे record का फिर object देना पड़ेगा, right? कि what object I want. I can directly create a contact from here also. कि एक variable बनाएंगे उसमें हम set कर देंगे. That also is something that can be done. So variables are something across flow हम लोग use करते हैं sometimes conditional checks के लिए, just to store data एक node से दूसरे node में जाने के लिए, right? All of these operations we use variables, but for now we will just go with text, right? This is var email, text, done. What are the other ones I said? Phone, right? So phone. For phone, the data type should be what? No one?
Numbers,
Phone,
date,
phone.
date. I mean
No,
number.
it will be number. No. Date was my mouse issues, but it will be number. Be confident in your answer.
No, no, I
Right.
said number
And
only.
yeah, and we don't want any decimal places.
Sir, why you
Okay,
using
because
small letters and before creating a
this,
variable API name?
yeah. So what this happens is basically, uh, so there are some nomenclature, guidelines that we follow,
Okay.
right? So for nomenclature guidelines, this happens for when you are naming variables, even when we are naming classes, जब हम class में method बना रहे हैं, right? So for all those, we kind of follow this kind of guideline, which is called the camel case, which is
Yeah, camel case. Yeah.
if it is
Okay.
a single word, right? Everything will be small case for variables, I'm saying, and methods also, right? If it is multiple words, then we'll combine the words. First one will be small. From second word on, the first alphabet has to be capital. Okay, this is called camel case. So for variables and all, we normally do this. Now, and methods also. Now within this, again, there are different types we have, which is, let's say, if this is a resource type of variable, right? So that's why when I'm creating it here, I'm naming it as var phone, right? So that all the variables will have a simple grouping. Then if it was a formula, then I would have some different template. That way what happens, अब flow में आपको देखो यहाँ पे जब आपको दिख रहा है, right? ये variables के अंदर ही तीन दिखेगा, right? Formula के अंदर अलग से दिखेगा, वैसे दिखेगा. But this whole flow can also be extracted into VS Code. और आप फिर कोड से भी मॉडिफाई कर सकते हो, and there it does not show in such a good UI and all these things, right? So that's why naming conventions are there to help
So
people understand.
मैपिंग के लिए आसानी हो सकती है तो आप वैसे क्रिएट कर रहे हैं वैर फोन फर्स्ट नेम
नहीं,
ऐसा करके.
अंडरस्टैंडिंग के लिए आसानी होगा.
अच्छा,
मैपिंग के
ओके
लिए तो
ओके.
अभी अगर मैंने यहाँ पे इसको अगर वेर फर्स्ट नेम की जगह अगर x1 2 3 4 5 लिख दिया होता, एंड जहां पे मैं रेफर कर रहा हूँ वहां पे भी एज लॉन्ग एज आई एम राइटिंग x1 2 3 4 5, राइट, इट विल वर्क, राइट. जहां पे मैं सेट कर रहा हूँ वहां पे भी सेम है, जहां पे मैं चेक कर रहा हूँ वहां पे भी सेम है, इट विल वर्क. द ओनली इशू इज इफ 1 month down the line suddenly someone says if x1 2 3 4 5 is equals to abcd, he'll be like, what is this variable, right?
करेक्ट.
Instead, if that variable would just have been, named like is parent account, right? Or it would have been the contact phone number. Variable का नाम अगर होता है contact phone. So anyone will read, okay, this variable is used to store a data value that somewhere is getting saved on a contact, right? So that is why it happens. Let me actually, okay, let me do one thing. I'll show you one class. Right. So if you see here, this is a class. So this is just ignore the code, but just I want to. So think of it this way. See, class का नाम है case optimization control. This is a controller class which optimizes case for me. Right. Inside this, I have variables. Case ID. All PNRs verified, all flights verified, all tickets verified. Right. This is a method name. Get customer trip service. Right. So the name should very easily make you understand what is happening here. So this method will return a customer trip service. Get data from PNR. Right. Variable का नाम है flight detail list. PNR map. Update records with optimization. Then you know, okay, in this method, updation is happening. Log exception, insert logs. So this is kind of, if you see the same convention, first is small, then all are capital. Can you see the convention here? Right.
Yes,
For
sir.
methods, for variables, everywhere, except for classes. For classes, everything is capital. Okay, this is a class. This is a class. This is a class. Right. So for any of these classes, if you see, everything is capital. Variables and methods, you go with camel case. That helps you understand. And always try to see, sometimes I'll show you something. Think of it this way. ये जो वेरिएबल है, राइट, वेरिएबल का नाम ही इतना लंबा है, वैल्यू इसमें जस्ट ट्रू या फॉल्स है, वेरिएबल का नाम ही है skip logging exception. You'll be like, no, I could have just named it like variable A, B, C, right? var1, var2. I could have it. But then in this class, if someone suddenly comes here and sees in line 830, right, var2 equals to false. What is var2? Right? So that's why in most cases, you have to make sure variables are, named properly. And this applies for flows even in everywhere. जो workflow rules हम बना रहे थे, right? उसमें भी हम API name we were always giving in a way ताकि नाम पढ़ के ही समझ आ जाए क्या हो रहा है. Validation rule में also will do the same thing. The name should imply what is happening, right? Now there are some examples where if you see this one, this is just a small method, 3 lines, nothing else is happening. So just within this, they have written DT1, DT2, DT1 STR, DT2 STR. So this is something someone can get by. That's fine. ठीक है. 2 लाइन में कुछ यहाँ पे there is no chance of confusion because ये वेरिएबल इस मेथड के बाहर तो यूज हो नहीं सकता. बट यहाँ पे अगर आप ऊपर देखो, ये जो मेथड है, ये जो वेरिएबल्स हैं एट द टॉप, ये इस पूरी क्लास में कहीं पे भी यूज हो सकते हैं. So I can't name it, PNR1, PNR2, right? So that's why naming convention is very important. From name, you should try to, make sure that people understand, okay, what is the function here, right?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Did we create all email? Oh, we did not create phone. Decimal give is 0. 4 variables we have created. Now let's go back to screen. अब हमको data entry तो कराना है इन सब का, right? So what would this be? For entering name, what we should add from here?
Display is text.
No, display text is read only.
सर नेम का वो पूरा कंपोनेंट है, वो
हाँ.
एलिमेंट टाइप है जिसमें आता है.
First name, last name,
Right. We have
text.
2 options. First is either we put 2 text like this or we put like this. Right now that is up to you where you want. Okay, so in this case, since this name we actually did yesterday, so let's do the normal one, but mostly same thing. Okay, ये क्या है इसमें, इसका लेबल क्या होगा, इसका हमने लेबल क्या दिया, अकाउंट ग्रुप, राइट? फर्स्ट first name is, let's make everything required, right? Component visibility, I'll display is always validate. I don't want to validate here anything. Do I want to add help? No. Advanced? No. That is fine. Right. Now, this one would be last name. Right. Again required. Nothing else here. Then what we have is email. Now for email, we could have given them a text. But the issue with text is anything can be added here. They can just write ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4 and done. It will be taken as text. What I want is the email by itself should be validated in some form. So that is why instead of putting a text, I will use an email. What it does not just give you a placeholder. This means it will also validate that whatever input you have added, Right. So it will also validate that whatever input you have done, it should work in this same format. Placeholder text I can remove, should be fine. I don't think we need a placeholder text. Right, done. And the last one that we want is phone. Now for phone, again, if you see, there's a label, I can keep phone only, that is fine. I should also replace the label from this. Email looks better, fine. Placeholder I removed, right? Yes. Phone again, if you see, it works. Right, so all of these inputs now are added. Email is there, phone is there. Right. Do I want to make these required? I can, but यहाँ पे हम required करने के लिए we had just checkbox. Here for required, if you see, you have this, which is a formula input. This is called a formula input. Why? Here you can either type a default value like true, right? Or you can point it to something else. By something else, what are the things you can point it to? आप एक नया रिसोर्स बना सकते हो, जैसे आपने यहाँ पे रिसोर्स बनाया था, आप एक नया रिसोर्स बना सकते हो. आप किसी और सेक्शन में किसी और चीज के वैल्यू को रेफर कर सकते हो, राइट? यू कैन ऑल्सो रेफर व्हाट इज कॉल्ड अ ग्लोबल वेरिएबल. जिससे थिंक ऑफ इट दिस वे, अगर यूजर से आपको कुछ वैल्यू लाना है, राइट? सो this lookup is something which is useful in a lot of complex use cases. जहाँ पे आपको सपोज बोला है कि अच्छा आप एक काम करो, यूजर का प्रोफाइल देखो, अगर प्रोफाइल ये है तो दिखाओ, right? So there are a lot of things that can be done using these ones, which are your lookup filters. No, not lookup filters. What are these called? Sorry, search filters. जहाँ पे आप सर्च करके अलग अलग टाइप के रिसोर्सेज आप डाल सकते हो, और यू कैन डायरेक्टली क्रिएट अ न्यू रिसोर्स, और यू कैन जस्ट पुट अ वैल्यू. Now within all flows, if you see, there is these two inputs, which is the global constant false and global constant true. This is just equal to boolean true or false. यहाँ पे हमने रिक्वायर्ड करने के लिए क्या किया था, इस चेकबॉक्स को ट्रू मार्क किया था. Here in email, if we make this as global constant true, it's the same thing. And you see, as soon as I made it true, यहाँ पे star भी आ गया, meaning it is mandatory. Same for phone. Let's go to required and global constant true. Right? Now all this is done. Let's add this. Let's save the new version of this and then we'll view this ones. Okay. ये हमने कहाँ पे डाला था? अकाउंट पेज पे डाला था, राइट? कल. I think is right. If you see here, it is letting you search for accounts. First name, contact, finish. Flow close. Nothing happened, but the flow close. तो जो हमने फ्लो में पाथ बनाया था till now that is working. But the issue is this is an incomplete flow because हमने यूजर से इनपुट तो लिया बट हमको क्रिएट भी तो करना है रिकॉर्ड. So screen we can use. Now what we'll use is we'll use a DML operation, which is the one create record. And let's name it create contact record. How to set record fields values. So अब यहाँ पे हमारे पास एक ऑप्शन आता है. एक है कि हम जब रिकॉर्ड बनाएंगे तो रिकॉर्ड के लिए वैल्यूज कहाँ से लाएं. Now there are two primary things. One is from a record variable, which means यहाँ पे या तो हमने कोई नया रिकॉर्ड टाइप का वेरिएबल बनाया था, राइट, जिसके अंदर ऑलरेडी वी हैव केप्ट ऑल द डेटा. That is one way. Or what we can do is we can manually configure every field what value we want to put. So in our case, what we have done right now is we have created 4 different variables, right? We also have direct user inputs, right? So we want to explore manually. See, in ideal case, when you are following best practices, the option would be आप इस स्क्रीन पे आने से पहले ही आप एक रिकॉर्ड वेरिएबल बनाएंगे. जो भी यहाँ पे यूजर सिलेक्ट करेगा उसका वैल्यू आप रिकॉर्ड वेरिएबल में ही डालेंगे. देन यहाँ पे आके यू विल जस्ट select the record variable and you set the value. That reduces less chance of errors happening. ठीक है कि कहीं पे यहाँ पे आके आप कुछ असाइन करना भूल गए, ये यूजर ने इनपुट दिया था बट आप वेरिएबल में सेट करना भूल गए, राइट. सो दैट्स व्हाई that is the better approach. But for now, because we are going with more of just most basic version, so that's why we are going with this way. Now account, see account I have created. As soon as I've selected account, it has automatically populated last name. This field should have a value, right? So let's add last name ke andar. Now if you see what are all the options which we get, we can directly assign the variables here. That is the approach we can go. But in this case हमने अभी तक variables में कुछ value डाली नहीं है. हमारा खाली अकाउंट सिलेक्शन स्क्रीन में ही वैल्यू एंटर हुआ है. सो व्हाट वी विल डू इज वी विल डायरेक्टली पुल डेटा फ्रॉम द अकाउंट सिलेक्शन स्क्रीन. सो लास्ट नेम नाम का जो हमने कंपोनेंट अकाउंट सिलेक्शन स्क्रीन पे डाला है हम वहीं से सीधा पुल करेंगे. लेट्स पुल अदर. एंड इफ यू सी हियर ऑन दिस साइड यू कैन सी ऑल द फील्ड्स ऑन द कॉन्टैक्ट. तो जो जो उसमें से आपको पॉपुलेट करनी है आप वो सब सिलेक्ट कर लें. फर्स्ट नेम, right? What is the other one we had? Email. Email is account selection screen. Email. What happened here? Value. Right. और एक क्या था हमारा? फोन. फोन हो गया. Assistant phone नहीं. Where is the home phone?
कॉन्टैक्ट फोन करके ले.
Yeah. So phone again. Contact phone से value. अभी ये 4 हमने डाल दी बट हमको रिलेशनशिप भी पॉपुलेट करना है. So relationships, just at the top you can see directly account ID is equals to from account ID screen select parent account whatever is the record ID. That's all we have done. We have set this. Let's save. And activate. Let's go back here. Create contact record. Wellington test contact one. Create test method. .com and contact got created. Right. Let's go see. अकाउंट नेम पॉपुलेट हुआ है, होम फोन पॉपुलेट हुआ है, नेम पॉपुलेट हुआ है, राइट, ईमेल पॉपुलेट हो गया, राइट. So everything we wanted got populated. Now, however, it was a very abrupt ending, right? जैसे next click किया फिर अचानक से create हो गया, close हो गया. In these cases, what we want is कि जब कोई ऐसा record update होता है, let's see जब यहाँ पे मैंने इसको active किया, यहाँ पे एक notification आया कि नहीं, activated, saved, right? यहाँ पे अगर मैं clone करता हूँ, clone, record created and all these things happen. But यहाँ से जब ये create हुआ, I did not get a notification. So if I miss this, I won't know कि create हुआ कि नहीं हुआ. So let's do one thing. Let's add another screen. And this one would be my success screen. Right. I don't want to show the header. Footer, I don't want, I want to show hide previous, hide pause. Right, and this will be finished. And यहाँ पे I just want a display text. What is this? Success notification. Contact record created successfully. Let's make this, we can modify this, right? Done. And what I'll do is I'll add a fault path. Here I want to show a error screen कि by chance अगर create करते हो कुछ गड़बड़ होता है तो यहाँ पे error screen पे आ जाए. So now this is something you have to remember, right? अब यहाँ पे भी point and click से हम लोग बहुत effort लगा रहे हैं, right? एक एक करके आपको screen बनाना है. So it does provide you a copy paste, right? So what does this mean? As long as most of the functionality you know will be similar or same, right? You can just copy and quickly update. Okay. Done. Save and activate. Now if you see here, create contact record, LinkedIn test contact 2, com, and next. Contact record created successfully. Finish. Right. So this way, having a error success screen, let's say the user also know that okay, this flow has worked as per expectation. Now let me do one thing, and I'll just do something here. I'll create a validation rule on contact. Right. Let's say cannot be tested. Okay. And I put here is what do I put? Where is it? First. Right. If first name equals to test, so error message. First name cannot be contact name. First name. Where is first name here? Where is name? Where first name? Right. Save. Now what I've done is I just created a validation rule कि अगर first name test है तो आप contact ना बनाने दें. So now what will happen when I do create the same contact?
एरर मैसेज को जाएगा वो फॉल्ट पाथ.
Right. So in this
Correct.
case, if I hit this, right, test contact 3, test at rate contact 3.com, phone is contact record creation failed. What happened? This node failed. This came down the fault path. This got displayed here. Now, what if I want to add something here? Right. Contact record failed and insert a resource. Where did that go? Flow fault message. So this how I inserted this from this resource. Okay, जो हम जैसे variables वगैरह add करे थे, similarly यहाँ पे हमारे पास global variables हैं. So I'll do this flow and fault message. I have added here as a message. Contact recording failed. उसके नीचे मैंने एक और text डाला है. Save. Let's activate. Create a contact record. Again, we'll do the same thing. See. फ्लो का क्योंकि फॉल्ट ग्लोबल वेरिएबल है, इसके अंदर से मैंने जो यहाँ पे फॉल्ट के अंदर से जो मैसेज मैंने ले आया था, फॉल्ट मैसेज, राइट. व्हाट इज द फॉल्ट मैसेज? सो व्हाट इज द फॉल्ट मैसेज? दिस एरर ऑकर्ड व्हेन द flow tried to create records. Field custom validation exception. First name cannot be test. You can look up the exception code values in the SOAP developer guide. So सक्सेसफुल हुआ तो ठीक है, एरर हुआ तो ठीक से हम यूजर को एरर भी दिखा सकते हैं, राइट. So this is why when I was mentioning yesterday that with flows you get error handling, you get fault handling. Why this is so important? पहले जो हो रहा था कॉन्टेक्ट क्रिएशन फेल, यूजर को पता ही नहीं चलेगा कहां फेल हुआ. और अगर ये फॉल्ट पाथ ना डाला होता तो क्या होता? इफ आई डिड नॉट हैव दिस फॉल्ट पाथ, राइट, व्हाट वुड हैव हैपेंड? वो पूरा स्क्रीन में ही फ्लो बंद हो जाता, अचानक से पूरा स्क्रीन पे रेड करके मैसेज आ जाता. Salesforce encountered an error. Please reach out to administrator. What error? Where happened? What happened? Did the record get created? Not get created? फ्लो में गड़बड़ था, कहां था, कुछ नहीं पता चलता. ओके. Is this whole thing clear?
Yes, sir.
Anyone has any doubts? No one has any doubts. Okay, fine. I can understand no one has any doubt as of now because I went through a lot of things here. So obviously these are new concepts